Okay, so thank you so much for agreeing to have a chat with me today, Garrow. I do appreciate it. So you can share your experience of the last year and how it's been for you. You're sat here a year after it all.
Yeah, so we're amazed. The next month will be a year since my craniotomy, and it's amazing, you know, the difference of where I am today than a year ago. Obviously, a year ago was the unknown and not really knowing what's going to happen, and you don't know what the future will hold, and all these possibilities of what could or could not happen. So yeah, a year on, I've accepted the permanent job, my new permanent job since surgery, with lots of responsibility. I never thought, well, I wondered if I would be able to do that again. So I feel grateful that I can do that, and I'm going to give it my best shot to make a big success. But yeah, it's been quite challenging, especially in the beginning, from being diagnosed. But once I had surgery and I saw how well that went and how quickly I recovered, I started becoming a lot more positive about the future, which was really amazing. And yeah, I do feel I'm back to normal, you know, whatever that might mean. But yeah, I do feel that, yeah.
Which is amazing, isn't it? And from the surgical side, what would have helped you at the time to, I mean, maybe nothing until you'd had it done, but is there anything that would have helped you to prepare yourself better, or to feel ready for it?
No, I do think, I mean, your support was amazing, you know, to the build up to the surgeries was really amazing to have. The weekly calls we had, you know, really comforted me. I really needed that. And then during and after surgery as well. So I think that's amazing. Obviously, when you hear an awake craniotomy, it's a very scary thing. And I was like, oh, that's the one thing I did not want. But as they explained, you know, it will be probably for the better outcome. So I suppose a bit more information on the actual surgery might have been helpful. I don't know, would it? You know, would it made it a bit worse to really understand what's going to happen? I don't know. I'm just the kind of person who likes to really know what's going on, you know, rather than the unknown. So maybe that could have helped me a little bit more, is the one thing I would say. But also, I think speaking to somebody or hear somebody else's story went through a similar situation than I did would have been quite helpful as well, you know, to see how they've recovered and how they went through the whole surgery. That would have been helpful, I think, too.
I mean, I have to say, I do think that there'll be a lot of people who will come on to watch this who will be really overwhelmed by the fact that you're sitting here a year later, you're starting a permanent job, you know, and you feel recovered.
Yeah.
So I think that will definitely give people.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. And I think, you know, I hope it will be accessible for a lot of people, you know. Especially, I think when somebody's being diagnosed with a brain tumor, it's such a big thing, you don't really know what's going to happen. And to give them all these different stories would be helpful. I know it's not always as successful and good as my story, but it could be, you know. And I think that's the positive part of it.
And what do you remember from the surgery itself? What's your experience of the actual operation? What do you remember very much of it?
I remember when it was like they gave you the dye in the morning, don't they? And they covered me with a sheet like 6 a.m. in the morning, and then they wheeled me to the to get the surgery done. And I remember I was so anxious during that period because I knew what was going to happen. I just wanted to get it over and done with. And then I can't remember the lady's name, the lady who was the speech and language therapist. So she came and we had a nice chat. It was nice to have that familiarity. And then I saw Mr. Vagani. I felt a bit more relaxed, and then I was asleep. The next moment, I just remembered them calling my name, and me waking up from like a deep sleep, and the people were there and we started talking. And it was actually quite fine. The only thing that was a little bit strange was the sounds and the noises, of machinery that's connected to your brain. And I do remember, I know your brain doesn't really feel anything, but because it's been exposed to the air, I could feel a difference in that area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I do remember that, I had to count, I had to play these games and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, and I think then it was done. It went quite quick.
Did it?
Yeah, although there was a moment where I was like, oh, I wish this is over done with now. But all in all, yeah, it went quite quick. And then, yeah, I woke up in recovery and yeah, the rest is history.
And do you remember the next day when you woke up? Do you remember how you felt the next day or that evening when you were calling home and saying how you were doing? Do you remember?
It's amazing. Like a couple of hours after surgery, I called my husband, FaceTimed him. It's like amazing if you think what you've gone through, and I was able to do that, was really amazing. And I remember feeling so grateful, and then the next day when Mr. Bagani and the team came around and kind of speak about the surgery and how it went, yeah, I felt a massive sense of relief, massive. And I was kind of like ready just to kind of get on with things again.
Because you went home really quickly, didn't you? So I know some of them say that it must have been really hard being in without having, your loved ones being able to come in and see you and having that connection with the people that you really need to kind of see after such a huge life event.
Yeah, that was hard, but I have to say the team on the ward, the nurses were amazing, honestly. They were really amazing, and they gave us all the support that I needed. So that was really, yeah, I can't thank them enough. But it is hard, when you come through something like that, you just want the people that you love with you, and you can't. But it's just the circumstances that we were all in at the time.
Yeah. And from your going home and how your recovery's gone, in terms of potentially what you expected, had it taken longer? How have you found?
No, it's honestly taken quicker, much quicker than I thought. And I think that goes back to the whole thing, when you're diagnosed, nobody really knows what's going to happen, what type of tumor you're going to have, what your recovery is going to be, what your life is going to look like post-surgery. So you get all these kind of like question marks, you tend to think the worst, or I do anyway. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I recovered really quickly, and yeah, very, very happy about that.
I mean, your story is so positive, despite the fact that it's a hugely challenging thing to go through. I think it's so kind of you to share that experience with others. So I do know that other people will watch this in preparation for their awake craniotomy.
Yeah.
And they'll really take a lot of comfort, hopefully, from knowing that a year later, this is where you're sat.
Yeah, I hope so, because I think if I was watching something similar to this before I went in, it would have given me a bit of hope.
Yeah.
Because it's always, as I keep on saying, the unknown, you just don't know what's going to happen. But to hear other people's stories, that it was fine and, recovered really well and things are back to normal-ish, that, yeah, I think it's inspiring.
Yeah. It is, definitely. And is there any advice you think from the point of view of a partner? Because obviously Sean went through it separately, together, but is there anything that you could advise for people, for their partners to think about, anything that helped you when you got home or anything along those lines?
I suppose just being there is the most important thing. I know it might sound a bit silly, but it is, it's just being there. I mean, I didn't need much of assistance, to be honest, but it's just nice knowing that your partner is there to support you emotionally, physically, in whatever sense there might be. That really helped me, so anybody else in this position is fortunate to have a loving partner who will be able to support them. yeah, it's great.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know other people will. So thank you for sharing with us.
Welcome, and thank you for everything.